Hello and welcome to the Bravas Luxury Living podcast. In this podcast, we're going to focus on a subject that CE Pro, which is the sort of industry trade magazine for us, declared one of the 5 trends for 2021. So I think this is going to be a really useful session. With me as ever, I have Keith. Hello, Keith. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Nigel. It's amazing what a little bit of sunshine will do for your overall well-being.
Exactly. So, Keith, on these podcasts, we have a lot of people listening, but they don't always like and share. So we need to encourage people to, wherever you get this podcast from, go back to the structure, like it, share it, make sure other people know about it, because I think we have some great content today.
Yeah, that'd be a big help for us.
Okay, let me introduce today's guests on the Bravas podcast. I'm very excited to have with us Michael Donaham, who's co-founder and president of the Pure365, and Brad Whitehead, who's a partner in the PureTech Alliance. Okay, there's a bunch of definitions there. PureTech, the Alliance, the PureTech 365. Who goes first? How do we explain how all these bits fit together?
PureTech Alliance is a group of 12 manufacturer reps from across the nation. So we are a national representation firm, and we are focused on the wellness space to bring that to the CEDIA channel. Our first manufacturer partner is Pure365. So Michael Donaham can introduce himself.
Yes, first of all, thanks for having us on. And it's been a pleasure working with PureTech Alliance. They are our sales rep. What Pure365 is essentially is the way that I like to explain it very simply is we create the Avengers of the healthy home. So we take the leaders of every category in wellness technology. So in air quality, water quality, even within those 2 segments, there's ventilation, humidification, filtration, there's purification of water, there's water monitoring. So we pretty much collate the best solution hardware out on the market, and we integrate all of it onto our Pure365 platform for people to have an intuitive, healthy home.
So Michael, thinking broadly for a second, when people talk about wellness and wellness within the home specifically, what should they be looking at?
There's a lot of facets to wellness, right? So I'll kind of focus in on exactly what we look at. So when we talk about the healthy home, the top 2 segments are really air and water. Air simply being because we breathe 15,000 liters a day. So think about it. If you're breathing 15,000 liters a day and you compound that by 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and then you think about the contaminants or the chemicals in that air. So the difference between living in a healthy home that minimizes those contaminants and another home where there's no measures in place to reduce that level, 5-10 years down the road, that can mean the difference between preventable disease or cancer or something of that sort. So when we talk about wellness in the home, it's creating an environment that has the least negative health impact on the body. And all of it needs to be based on science. So that's the short answer.
And I guess you start with the monitoring and getting an understanding of what actually is in the home so you know where to go from there. Is that correct?
Right. So, I mean, the one thing that COVID has done, positive thing, is everyone's now cognizant of their environment, whether it's at home or they go out. Everyone is thinking about the air, right? They don't want to get the virus. But people, there's a lot of slick marketing out there. There's promises, but it's not so much what the technology is certainly important, but the most important aspect of a healthy home is, can you measure it, and what are the results? It's not the promise, right? We can do that. No, that's all good to kind of get people excited, but in the end, the thing that brings the most value to a homeowner is, what is the result? And that's what we really focus on.
So you mentioned there's a lot of slick marketing out there, but if somebody did find out that they started measuring their air quality and found out the air quality is pretty awful, what are some steps they can take, and how does Pure 365 tie into that?
So air quality, like I mentioned before, there's many facets of air quality. The first one is filtration. And there's, I don't want to get too technical, but there's something called PM 2.5. It's the size of the particles. And certain well-known bodies, based on scientific research, like Well and Fitwell, they put a benchmark as to what an acceptable level is. Like, for example, 15 micrograms per cubic meter is an acceptable level. If it goes over that, it's like you need to do something about it, right? So what our platform does is it tells you where those levels are at all times. So you can get a weekly average, daily average, and that gives ultimately the homeowner peace of mind that what they purchased or the solutions they implemented in their home are actually working.
I guess as one of those slick marketing people, and I'll have nothing said against slick marketing people, we make the world go round, so I've been telling people. You mentioned COVID earlier. It really strikes me that the question most people are having on their mind is, does that air filtration help anyway with COVID? I mean, is there any overlap there, or is that just wishful thinking, do you think?
It definitely helps. Like people like Joe Allen at Harvard, they've done so many studies on how to mitigate against COVID transmission. They found that the largest way to transmit it is through aerosolized viruses, breathing it in, entering through your mucous membranes. So other than the basic stuff we all know about, washing your hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, the most effective methods to reduce that risk in a building especially is advanced filtration, because you want to reduce the amount of aerosolized viruses in the air. And the second thing is ventilation, so you dilute it. And those are actually two things that can carry over into the home as well. And all of it can be measured. So you can know, for example, I just looked at my app, my weekly averages on PM 2.5 were 0.9 just this last week. That's the average. So I mentioned to you the well standard is 15. So we can bring it down 15 times what the standard is. And then for CO2, the standard is 800 parts per million. If you go above it, you start getting cognitive, difficulties. I looked at my weekly average, it's in the low 500s. So that's the type of information we want to give to the end user.
So Brad, as a sort of broader alliance here, how do you find picking someone like Pure365? How do you think about this segment from an alliance point of view?
Sure. I'm a former integrator myself, so we were always looking for new technologies to bring in that are valuable to our clientele and to our trade partners like interior designers, architects, builders. When we had an opportunity to partner with Pure365, it made natural sense because they are culling the market of the best of breed of these things that are going to help to add to the healthy home. So it was a natural fit for us as we were looking for that. The one additional point I'd like to make is, this all started before COVID had really swept into the United States, where we recognized that wellness was a trend, and it is kind of the divine truth. Of course, we all want to live in a healthy home as we move forward. It's our responsibility as technologists to bring that information and capabilities so that we can implement it for our clients wherever they may be. So Pure365 was a natural first partner for that.
And so I know we've talked some about air. What are the other segments that you think are important to build this healthy home?
Well, air is the one that's getting the most attention right now, obviously because of COVID, but I could also point back to the forest fires. The wildfires from the summer made a big impact on a lot of locations. Following air, of course, water is the next one. We're all drinking water. We're all absorbing water through our skin in the showers and things of that nature. And there's been a lot of study around some negative impacts that are relatively easy to manage if they're managed. So water is the next one. Then you get into lighting. And then there's a number of other things that are coming down the pipe, but we don't really have products for them yet. I'll let Michael refer to that.
So Michael, talk a bit about, we talked about air, talk about water.
So water, a lot of people, when they hear about like water filter, I have a water filter, so I'm safe. But the way that I like to explain it is there's many grades of filtration, and the highest grade of filtration is actually, the vernacular is water purification. So you really, there's a pecking order, right? So in terms of physical health, there's the in me, then there's the stuff that we put on me, like the shower and the creams and stuff, and then there's around me. The thing that goes inside the body, that has to be the priority. Like we don't want to bring any contaminants into our bodies unnecessarily. And it's common knowledge with the scientists and the environmentalists that all of our water table, our water sources are contaminated with chemicals and pharmaceuticals. So there is no tap water that is safe. But the thing is, you can't see it. So a lot of people, they look at clear water, they think it's fine, but they're drinking contaminants, pesticides. So really, when we talk about water, you have to take it to the purification level to reduce the amount of contaminants coming into the body.
So I guess, again, the upside to Pure 365 is you're giving clients that information where they're able to make a decision for themselves as to what they need to do in their own home. I mean, am I hearing that correctly?
Exactly. I mean, people, they all have their different budgets. And obviously, if you want the best, it's going to cost more. We're more about just educating them what the landscape is, what the outcome is if you choose a certain one. And then they just have to make the choice that is best for them. So you're right, helping people make informed decisions.
But you know, we have some clients, we have customers probably listening to this podcast who have very big houses. I mean, we're talking, you know, not the 2,000 square feet, but 10,000 square feet, sometimes massive houses. That is a huge amount of air and water to manage. I mean, is this really practical at that sort of scale?
It is, but it's not an all or one, Nigel. So, for example, like we've run into people who have budget constraints. So what we always say is, okay, if you want the cleanest air, but you have a limited budget, let's start with one air handler, put in a medical grade purification system in line that goes to your bedrooms where you're spending a third of the day. And then maybe the second one in your living room, great room, kitchen, where you're spending most of the day downstairs. And then later on, when the budget affords, you can build it out to all of the other regions. And it's the same thing for water. You can start off point of use in the kitchen where you're drinking and cooking. So that's coming into the body. That's the top priority. And then later on, if the budget affords, then we can put in a whole house purification system where you're getting better than bottled water quality at every tap. So you're even showering with it. And a lot of people don't know, but when you shower, when in the facial and underarm areas, there's 100% absorption of contaminants from the water. So if your water is not clean and you're showering, you're absorbing those things through your facial and underarm areas at a very, very high rate.
Well, I know, Brad, that if you were selling the products, you would say exactly, not that I don't doubt, Michael. Practically speaking, as someone who did this for a living, how do you see that's how people should go about this, a room at a time? What would your advice to someone be?
Yeah, well, like Michael said, if your budget is limited, then attacking it one room at a time makes a lot of sense. We are selling to all kinds of dealers and integrators, and some of them are using kind of this point solution approach, which is almost a retrofit style approach for water or for air, because of their finished homes. We are just now starting to see some dealers who've been talking about this for a while. It's now turning on to the plans. So they're going to be going into new construction projects where it is vastly easier to manage and to simplify the way that you would implement an air handler or what we would call a IntelliPure Super V onto an air handling system. And you can do that easily during the construction phase. And also you could bring your water purification system in at the source where it enters the home, relatively easy, and then hook it into the rest of the house plumbing. So there's two approaches.
So that's obviously what we can do now. What have you seen as far as either what kind of are the next phases of this, or what have integrators been asking you for? Like, has there been any pull of things that their clients are telling them about that maybe products don't exist for yet, but we're moving in that direction?
Yeah, the biggest thing, of course, is I would say we are in the, maybe not quite infancy, but certainly the early childhood of the monitoring capability. And as Michael said, the ability to visibly see what your ratings are on various water quality or air quality, and then enact whatever the measure is to take care of that and see that improve. What integrators are looking for now is how is that going to integrate into a whole home system? And we can see it on an app, but over time there will be some integration into some other control solutions.
So, Michael, I think of this as maybe 3 stages, and tell me if I'm wrong. There's the devices that are doing the cleaning and air purifying. There's your control software, and then there's the home automation platforms that people are installing in their house. How do those 3 things fit together in your mind?
So there are definitely 3 stages. You're correct about that. So the first stage of automating wellness into the home, or creating a healthy home, is monitoring. And based on those levels, they should be able to create auto triggers on the smart control, which is typically what we know as a smart thermostat, an Ecobee, a Nest, a Honeywell. And then the medical grade filtration purification systems are in line. So the fan simply activates it or turns it off and remediates certain pollution levels to go back into optimal zones. So what we're doing is our app is now on the App Store and Google Play, but as we continue to refine the seamlessness between those things, we are simultaneously speaking to the big home automation platforms like Control4, Crestron, and Savant. We're having active conversations now to create drivers later this year so that anyone with those platforms can integrate these healthy home technologies right into their systems.
That's a really exciting step, I think, because that goes from active monitoring to having the system monitor it for you. We've even seen systems lately where it's opening windows to allow ventilation automatically. So it's going to be interesting to see how we can tie all those things together into a really seamless solution that makes the house more efficient, more comfortable all at the same time.
Totally. And I do see a future where all windows are going to be operable. Right now, most of them are skylights, right? But we have the ability now to track outdoor air quality as well as indoor. Mm-hmm. So if someone is cooking and the chemical levels go up, the platform will be able to open the skylight, get some fresh air in, dilute the chemicals, and it's all being done in behind the scenes intuitively. The last thing we want is someone having to always do everything manually, right? So that's not truly a smart home. We want to definitely have that intuitive process working in behind the scenes.
So, Brad, one of the other subjects we talk a lot about on our Luxury Living podcast, which you should like or share, folks, if you're listening to and enjoying this great content, is light. So tell me, from the PureTech Alliance, where does light sit?
Well, the PureTech Alliance does not have a lighting manufacturer under its control. A lot of the individual companies within PureTech are either representing Lutron or Vantage or somebody like that, as well as a lot of the new lighting fixtures that are coming out and onto the market. So at this point, we have not gone into lights from PureTech Alliance.
But for you, Michael, how important is light? Is it more important than the others, less important? Put it on your scale.
On all the homeowner surveys, builder surveys, air and water are at the top, with air being the clear leader. Light is in that third category, fourth category of wellness, and it's an essential part of health, right? And you see a lot of great products coming out on the market. One thing I like to say is that with wellness, technology is great. It can only take you so far, though. And so a lot of the science talks about, the best thing to do is go outside. Natural daylight is the best, right? So, we're limited because we spend so much time indoors, but when it comes to overall wellness, we want to always encourage spending as much time outdoors as possible. When you're indoors, to have circadian light and biophilic elements within the home also contributes to good health.
What about sleep? So, I think as someone who had a restless night last night, which you can probably see from the bags under my eyes, how do these things play into the sleep story?
So, Nigel, 3 pillars of lifestyle and behavior for health are what you eat, nutrition, exercise, how well you move throughout the day, get your blood going, your blood circulating and feeding your cells oxygen. And then the third is sleep. We sleep a third of the day. We should be at least 7 hours. And the numbers are staggering at how many people do not get a good night's sleep. That impacts their relationships, productivity at work, chronic stress, overall longevity, fighting off preventable disease. So sleep is a category. I mean, we have a roadmap. We're starting off with air and water, but our roadmap, they include sleep quality, circadian lighting, biophilic design, organic scents, not harmful chemicals, soundscaping that can ease the mind, EMF protection, non-toxic materials, wellness hygiene. So we're very ambitious, but we're at the very beginning stages. So we're looking to create a holistic platform that addresses all of these major wellness categories.
I think, I don't know whether water affects sleep, but I know air quality does. And, the other interesting thing about air quality, someone told me, is you can smell the difference. Is that true? If you go somewhere that's got clean air, can you smell it?
Well, clean air, there's several components to it, Nigel. So if you have low CO2 levels and you're bringing in fresh air from the outside, it's diluting any chemicals or cooking smells. So definitely the air is going to smell more crisp, right? If you're reducing the particulate levels, what happens is the particulates go into the bloodstream. They cause inflammation in the body, yet people don't really know it's the air. So when you go from a polluted air environment to a clean environment, you're definitely going to feel it because your body is less inflamed, and you can notice that difference. And then, so those are the 2 biggest feel factors in terms of how you can distinguish between a place that has good air quality and poor air quality.
Brad, I'm going to task you with pushing him a little harder to get these products out. I want to see this holistic approach as soon as possible. I really like that. I like that approach.
Yeah, and the thing I'm excited about is with working with Pure365, they are going to the market through the CEDIA, traditional CEDIA integration channel, because as technologists, we have to work on lots of different subsystems, manage a lot of different data. There's a lot of confusion that can be out there in the market, and I think that the folks that are in this market, including those individuals that work for Bravas, are good at communicating that. It's technical material that we have to communicate to consumers, to trade partners, and so forth. And then you have to integrate it with a number of different supporting trades along the way. And that always winds up being the challenge for the integration firm.
So, Michael, if I wanted to get started monitoring the quality in my own home, air quality, where would you recommend I start?
I would always recommend, kind of previously what I spoke about is where you spend the most time. Where you spend the most time is where the air or the water is having the most impact on your health. So you definitely, if you're going to start with 1 or 2, you want to put them in the areas you spend the most time. Typically, that's the bedroom, and then the living room and kitchen or great room areas. Those are the 2 places to start off with. And as you get more comfortable and you're like, hey, I want to know more about my basement, then you go there. The other thing I want to tell you about, Keith, is we have, so we choose monitor partners that are category leaders, but they all bring a little different things to the table. So one of them will have the basic 5 sensors: temperature, humidity, chemicals, carbon dioxide, and particulate. Another one will add 4 more sensors like carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone. Now, these things may not mean anything to you, but they will be defined for you. Like, this has this health impact, or this is why ozone is dangerous. So as you track those things, you'll get to know, wow, I should look out for what ozone levels are or nitrogen dioxide levels are. And then the other partner that we have, it's the only one that has a radon sensor in there. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking. Yet 99% of the people I talk to, I ask them, "What do you know your radon levels?" I bet you no one will know their radon levels here. That's my guess. Do you know your radon levels?
No. And
Zero?
can I even measure? I mean, how expensive is that first sensor? Give me a sense.
It's in the 200s, ballpark 200. So the investment far outweighs the cost. So think about it, Nigel. Let's say your radon levels are above 4 picocuries per liter. That's an action level. That means like you're being exposed to radiation that's going to cause lung cancer at some point. But you put that monitor in there, and I've done it many times in the past for our clients. It was way above the action level. They got it remediated, and there's peace of mind. There's an Olympic hockey, women's hockey player. She got lung cancer. She was like, what the heck? I was trained all my life. I eat healthy. How could I get this? They found out the house she grew up in had high radon levels.
But broader than radon, I live in an apartment block, and I'm very suspect sometimes of the quality of air because I can't open a window. Is there a sensor? Is there a tool I should be using?
Oh yeah, one of these monitors will show you where the problem areas are, and that's why we're building out this platform to use that data and give you the insight. Nigel, you got to watch out for A, B, and C, and this is how you do it.
Well, I'd love. We'll put in the notes if there's a particular model you think people should look at, or there's a device that is there one you can think of.
We carry 3, and like I said, one has 5 sensors, the other has 9, and the other one is the only one that has a radon sensor. So really, I always recommend the lowest occupied floor. You gotta have a radon sensor in there. Every home should have one because every home is different. And then the other floors, you can choose to have more intelligence with the 9 sensor model, or just go with the basic one with the 5.
I think the education component is really important because it is one of those things like insurance where I think people feel like this is something that's just protecting them from being sick, not helping them feel better. It's a very positive thing. And I think we're thinking of it as something that's just a defense against getting sick.
Right. I know. Very good point, Keith. Nigel, because you were talking about going through air, water, light, sleep, when I speak to our partners, I always say, you've been offering wellness solutions all this time, but you just didn't really think about it. So what I mean by that is, I like to share this quote by Charlie Chaplin. He said, laughter is the tonic, the relief, the cessation of pain, right? And when we're laughing, when we're entertained, we kind of shoo away the chronic stress in our lives. And think about it. Our people in the CI channel, they create world-class theaters, audio systems. All those things elicit delight, laughter, smiling. And that's actually partly a wellness product. Just no one realized it up until now, right? They've been implementing lighting fixtures, shading, bringing in natural light. The focus has been on the light up until now, but now there's that science and the tie-in with wellness. So that's another element that the CI channel has been in the wellness sphere without realizing it. Another example is the security that is set up in the home, right? If someone doesn't feel secure in their home, they're going to be always worried and fearful, and it causes stress. But because of all these things that are installed by our partners, so that's the initial level of wellness that people that our channel has delved into. Now's time to take it to the next level with huge impact, categories like air and water and beyond, like we're talking about.
Well, I think that's perfect, and I'm always happy to end, any podcast talking about British people, and Charlie Chaplin, of course, was English. So thank you for that. But before we let you go, on these podcasts, if you've heard them before, we always play a little game to learn a bit more about you as people. So we have our 3 quick questions. So you guys, hopefully you can do this. The first quick question is, what piece of home automation do you have in your home that you think you couldn't live without? So why don't we start, Brad? Is there a piece of home automation equipment you couldn't live without? What would that be?
Yeah, at this point, it is the thing that I've gotten used to is voice control to control my lighting system.
Okay, he likes to shout at his lights. What about you, Michael?
Well, for me, the boring answer is my air quality. So whenever my wife cooks, my Nest thermostat automatically activates the purification system, brings down the levels. That's the boring answer. But I really love my automated lights. Wherever I go, they turn on, they turn off when there's no motion, save energy. It's great.
That's good. So the second question is there a job you've ever done, an install or something, when you think back and you go, this was a wow moment in your career? Is there a piece of technology or an implementation that strikes either of you as a wow moment?
Yeah, for me, that one would be some of the home theater installations that I've been a part of, where it really was spectacular. It came out looking great, and the clients were happy, and they spent time with their family and friends there.
Michael?
Yeah, for me, it's just whenever we set up homes with the best air quality, it's always a delight, and to give the client a peace of mind. And we were lucky enough when we were first starting that we should receive the Mark of Excellence Award in our industry for Health and Wellness Project of the Year. So that was pretty validating.
Well, congratulations for that. Okay, last but not least, now I want you to think into the future. What is the piece of technology or the gadget that does not exist today that you would like to have? By the way, automated celery juicer, I think, is the current winning. So see if you can beat that.
See, I'd like something that would feed my animals.
Okay, that's good. What about
dog
you?
Feeder.
Yeah. What about you, Michael? Is there a piece of technology you'd love to see someone invent?
Well, I've been in wellness most of my career, so it's kind of like embarrassing, but I love French fries. The golden, crispy, well done French fries. And if there was any type of technology that can make those healthy, like cancel out the saturated fats and the trans fats,
Yes,
that'd be great.
Because they just don't work as well in the oven, regardless of what anybody tells you.
Does the air fryer not do that? I feel like that thing promises the moon.
It's still bad for you, though, unfortunately.
Don't tell me that.
Well, listen, guys, we're really grateful for you spending some time with us. I think this is a growing in segment for us. As we said, the CE Pro, which is like the industry magazine for our business, made this their top 5 trend of the year is to get air quality right. And so we would love to work with anybody of our customers, our clients, to introduce them to both the PureTech Alliance and Pure365. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.